Somebody told me, the only thing you got to be careful if you don't get crazy. Don't be crazy in a circle. My father, who was 96, came in once and he says, he died at 96, and he was around 95 or so. He said, when are you going to finish? And I said, he said, when are you going to finish? I want you to finish before I die. And I told my dad, I said, Dad, don't give me any pressure. You're putting on the pressure. I don't want to finish. Anyway, he passed away and got to see it. Finished. Well, it's always interesting to come in to see the development and the luminosity of the colors after it's completed, because it takes so long for the chemical process to occur, and the fact that if you started on one side and by the time you come around this 5 years or 6 years, when you come down to trying to complete, the luminosity and the colors are all starting to come together. How long did it take to create this? In the painting process, or?
Yeah, the painting process.
The painting process started in 2002, finished in end of 2011. So the painting process probably 7 years, maybe 8 to paint it. I think commitment, and I really think my dad had a lot to do with that. And for me to see it also completed. And of course, a lot of help that I had. In the painting process, yeah, 7, 8 years. To complete this, little did I realize, or I think anybody realized that when we started this fresco, that the amount of time that it would take to complete it, and was around 8 years, 7, 8 years. Sometimes we go through life and we think that when I first walked in, that it may be completed in 3 or 4 years, but some things take time, and you can't rush it. As much as maybe one would like to, in a project like this, or any project that people want to create, it takes time. Well, it's an emotional feeling to come and see the way the colors and the lines that were used, and bring back a lot of memories in the painting process. On the corn, the creation of it and the movement and the excitement with 4 directions. Yes, I feel that the movement of the corn and the four directions is, it came out. I was very pleased at the amount of time it took. Well, the hours to create it at the time, and the fact that it's above the oldest image of Quetzalcoatl, who brought corn to humanity. The mythology of that, with the image of the ant. He became a black ant and went into an ant pile and came out with a kernel of corn to give to humanity. The mythology of what's happening there. When we walked into the Torreon, little did we realize upon the completion of it that we were going to create the largest concave fresco in North America and one of the largest in the world. And the fresco is over 4,000 square feet of concave wall, and all fresco, bone fresco. From start to finish, we started in the year 2002. We finished in 2000 and the end of 2010, early 11, and the painting process took about 8 years of painting. I think as an artist, or anyone that is an artist or a creative person, to be able to have a wall like this, it's a passion. I think it takes passion and a commitment. When I walked into this place, because I had been creating frescoes for over 26 years more or less, I felt like one of the luckiest guys in the world. And seeing it completed seems like a dream, like people think sometimes when they go places or when you do things or when you accomplish things. It's like a dream. I think the so-called major works that we look at, Sistine Chapel, Orozco, Goya's frescoes, Guernica, I think in the start of the creation, I don't think these painters ever thought about the largeness or how big it's going to be. It's a matter of completing it and the opportunity to be able to create it in a space like this, especially for me in this Torreon. And I think for them too. I don't think you look at work as to what it's gonna, how big it's gonna be, or how do I want to say what it's going to bring. It's done because you're there to create it. It's part of your being. Fortunately, some people are fortunate, because I really consider myself very fortunate. I was lucky that I could do it and have this wall. I mean, the wall is to die for. As a painter, it's more important for me as a painter to express myself, of course, in the painting process. So as a piece of public artwork, if there's some statement, either indirectly or subliminal, or that is the intention of public art, to expose it to an individual, to people, so that it's not hidden away in some home, it's not snuck away in some big mansion or a small house or whatever. It is public art, and that's a blessing, to let people come in, look at it, critique it, enjoy it, and learn from it. In a space like this, or any kind of space that's large, This is an opportunity to either give historical imagery, factual imagery and factual history, because sometimes I had 7 scholars that I would dialogue with, so every image on this fresco is true history, facts. Well, because sometimes history is manipulated, depends on who writes the story and how it's presented. A lot of inaccuracies and a lot that are accurate, and we were fortunate for history here in the Southwest that this is accurate. When they come in to look at the imagery of what it says, first of all, and then besides the historical aspects of it, educational aspects, a good thing for fresco is an emotional aspect because of the color. So when you walk in, color affects you emotionally, and there's color theory, color therapy, art therapy, and that's also, I think, included in this fresco. The fresco, when you walk in, the individuals, the people that get to see it, that they understand when they leave the symbology that's there, the history that's there, and the emotional tie that they might have with the effect of the color. There's a lot of history going back to, one of the oldest is the cave paintings in Altamira that goes back 20,000 BC, or maybe even older. So you're talking about a color that they were using in those cave paintings that we're using now. I don't know, I may be getting lost now. I think the most important message is the fact that we're so interrelated genetically. I think that's one of the most important things. The influences from various civilizations that arrived here, bringing both the positive, and I want to move into positive because there's a lot of negative, but those influences that have made up who I am, because I only can talk about myself, but since we're so genetically tied down or interrelated, I think as they walk in, they can understand how close we are as a family. Whether or not they want to use the word family, but how tied up we are genetically. Well, we realize in history, you would think as human beings, we move beyond wars. We move beyond, bringing negativism, but at the same time, there's a balance of positive, negative, war, peace, and the ones that occurred to bring us to the point of here in New Mexico or the Southwest of who we are. I think we're closer here to more of a peaceful existence, but now that we look at the world as it is, it continues. So this fact of wars, I guess, will never be eliminated. I don't see it. But the people that do come in here to see their part of their history on this area in the Southwest, the wars that occurred, and then also the positive things that have developed. The intermingling of compadre, which is one of the most important and sacred components of what was brought over here, where I become a compadre, compadrasco. That is, usually it was between a member of a family, I'll ask my cousin to be my padrino to my son or my daughter, or vice versa. But this was bringing somebody out of the family, yet treated with such sacredness with that individual that brought in people and made your family ties more extended and more positive. Because to be a compadre or a comadre, you would do almost anything for them as you would do for your own blood. A compadre or a comadre, because it be male, female, is a sacred bond between individuals and families. I think that's the most important term, sacred. It's sacred. So you can still see old-timers say, hey, compadre, or if they call you, hey, comadre, that is the most beautiful thing. You are accepted. It is special. You walk into a place and they say, this is my compadre. Hi, welcome. There's trust, automatically. The event happened in 1692 on the re-enter of the Spanish Europeans, of de Vargas, moving into Pecos, the pueblo of Pecos. And de Vargas made that decision. Do I fight or do I become a compadre to the chief? Which in turn developed the concept of compadrazgo here in New Mexico. It took me years to call myself an artist. I always called myself a painter, and still to this day. It took years for myself to accept the word artist, because I am a painter. I paint walls, and I can paint just about any kind of walls. House paint, I started off painting my dad's windows for every summer. Going around the house, it took all summer with those little lines of 6-pane windows. An artist is an individual, I think, that responsibility, it's a responsibility to convey something to society. It all depends on the space and what is supposed to be mentioned. It could be a whole lot of different things. The artist's job is to create something for society that means something, and to leave something for them and for society. What I've tried to leave in the Torreon is true historical imagery and facts, so that when an individual comes in here, they hopefully will understand who they are, if they're from here, and if they're not, maybe to find out more about what is here. And for those that do not know their history, that are from here, to maybe be proud of what has occurred in this area. And that is what an artist is supposed to do, to create true facts, to say the truth, and to say the truth and to be passionate about it, to be honest. I guess that's it, to be honest. To be honest about what one is doing. And not really look at the economics of something. Because once some young artist came in there and say, oh, how much you get paid an hour? And I looked at him and I says, when you have to worry about, because we all have to exist and the bills never end, but when you have to worry about what you get paid an hour, you better look for something else to do. To me, I'm a procrastinator. So in different medias, I love the painting process. but it makes me stop a little bit and observe more and to take a look at it. Fresco, to paint fresco demands hours and hours and hours of painting, because if the wall dries, you cannot paint anymore. It does not become part of the wall. It's fresco secco. And so I think it's endorphins that happen as a runner that runs, that likes to run. Once you have a feeling and a taste of painting fresco, it's a passion, it's a craving that I seek. So I love to look for walls and to create frescoes for that reason. It has that power. It brings back a lot of memories, times that it took, individuals that helped, struggles to get the right perspective and angle, different cartoons. And it is nice to see it finished and completed. Of course, sometimes I would like to get back on that wall, because you learn things every time you finish a project. It's always a learning process. Over 4,000 square feet of wall space. It's the largest concave fresco in North America. It's one of the largest frescoes also in the world, concave. And it's all done in al fresco, buon fresco, one of the most ancient and noble art forms. When I walked into this space, and they said, "Here's the wall for you," I felt like one of the luckiest painters, artists in the world. It's a beautiful space, it's unique, and it's interior. Well, this is 4,000 square feet, telling a history story of this area. And I think we could probably use another 4,000 square feet.